Should the Miami Heat think about trading up in the 2025 NBA draft? That is what we will discuss on today's Heat Report. I am Nic Rohloff. Miami holds the 20th overall pick, at least as of right now. Now, they are rumored to potentially move that pick in a all-star veteran level trade, or at least make the pick and then trade the player. But I tweeted this out a couple days ago. I had this thought. If I'm the Miami Heat, with the San Antonio Spurs having two picks in the lottery, number 2 and number 14, they could be looking to move off that second lottery pick to acquire more assets or a veteran player. Like, what would it cost for Miami to move up 6 spots in the NBA draft to get to that late lottery selection? And we're going to talk about other potential late lottery picks that we could trade up for. But that's why you follow me on Twitter, by the way, because I'm talking Heat basketball outside of our Heat YouTube channel videos that we do. And if you want more coverage, well, go give me a follow over there. You might ask, why should the Heat even think about trading up? Well, this NBA draft is a really good one. I mean, it is like double last year's draft, where the Heat obviously took Ware at 15. And specifically with the lottery, there are a lot of good players that will be drafted inside the top 14. There will be solid players still there on the board at 20 for Miami. But the point is this. Like, if you don't make an all-star level player trade for a Trae Young, a Ja Morant, a Kevin Durant, or another player that somehow comes available, we don't do that. Well, I would be intrigued with moving up to get a better chance at getting an all-star level player in the draft because there's a lot of good talent. So I'm going to go through 3 trade ideas and then talk about what prospects I'd be trading up and targeting here. We're going to start with that trade that I kind of threw out there at the top of today's show, which is trading up for the number 14th pick, the last pick of the lottery, with the San Antonio Spurs. Now, this is what a trade I think may look like. This one is interesting because the Heat move up 6 spots in the draft, but they only swap players, Duncan Robinson and Harrison Barnes. And you might be asking, like, why would the Spurs even do this? Like, Duncan Robinson might not even be better than Harrison Barnes in a vacuum, and he certainly isn't better enough of him to be moving down 6 spots in the lottery. Well, I think there's an added reason on why you could want Duncan Robinson. One, he would be a great floor spacer alongside De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, someone that can space the floor and shoot the ball just significantly better than Harrison Barnes. Could come off the bench and be that shooter alongside Devin Vassell as well if they keep him. But there's also another added benefit to having Duncan Robinson. Remember, there's that July 9th deadline to where you can ETO it, early termination, cut Duncan. He's got $19.8 million salary this year. That becomes fully guaranteed once you get past July 9th. You cut him before that, it saves you $10 million. That could be a nice cap relief for San Antonio if they want to make another move, or if they just want to get underneath a tax threshold. It could provide added benefits because Harrison Barnes has got a $19 million expiring contract. So that one isn't as likely. You might have to offer a better package to get that 14th pick, but it is just another idea. Now, what if you traded just a couple spots ahead of San Antonio with the Chicago Bulls for the 12th overall pick? When you move up 8 spots, you'd have to probably give up something slightly better. And in this scenario, I'm giving up Nikola Jovic. And I know a lot of fans are going to be hesitant and hear this, see this, and immediately think, Nick, you're crazy. Why would you do this? Kind of explain why here in a second. But in this trade idea, you give up Anderson and Jovic. That's $13 million in salary. You get back Jalen Smith at $9 million, 2-year deal. Potentially your backup center behind Adebayo and Kel'el Ware next year. You obviously move up 8 spots in the draft, and you also save $4 million in cap space, which could be very beneficial when you're signing people in free agency, trying to re-sign Davion Mitchell, who is a restricted free agent, but also stay underneath the first apron and the luxury tax. Talk more about trading up here in a second, but I just want a quick little intermission. Make the call. Would you be interested by trading up in the NBA draft from 20 to the late lottery, ranging between 11 to 14 potentially, maybe even 10 with Houston, but it would have to cost you a little bit? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm going to mention Jovic here in a second, but another trade idea could be one spot higher than Chicago, which is our good old friend Joe Cronin and the Portland Trailblazers with that 11th pick. They're in a very interesting spot, Portland is. They have a lot of talent. What do they need? Do they need wings? Do they need guards? Well, what if they made this trade? It's actually the same package Miami offered Chicago in that deal, but instead of getting Jalen Smith back, they get Robert Williams, an injury-prone center that could be a nice little solid backup big in 50 to 60 games if all goes well for Miami. Williams is on a one-year deal, and you think about what Portland has at the center position. They still have DeAndre Ayton on a one-year, $35 million deal. They drafted Donovan Clingan in the top 10 last year. You're not starting both of them, so, well, there's your first two centers. You also got Durif Ruup, I think is how you say his name, on that roster as well. So Robert Williams certainly is expendable. It's an expiring contract for Miami, and you move up 9 spots to potentially get a top player in the lottery. And with those last two trade ideas I proposed, both of them featured Nikola Jovic being shipped out. And I know I mentioned you guys probably don't like that. Well, as much as it would pain me, and if you've been with the channel for more than a year, you would know how much I like Nikola Jovic, I'm getting more and more suspicious of his long-term fit with the Miami Heat. Plus, when you think of his contract, there's a team option this year, but then you have to talk contract extension with Jovic. And for someone who's been in the league for 3 years, he hasn't played more than 46 games in a season in those 3 years. He's had injury concerns. I don't know where he fits offensively or really defensively with this current roster construction. And with the potential extension looming, like there is a world where Miami might just say, we don't see this partnership going anywhere. Maybe we can use him to move up in the draft, get a backup rotational big man, and draft a younger player and kind of reset that contract extension, if you will. Going to talk about Jovic here more in a second, but hit that sub button for daily Miami Heat coverage. We got news, we got rumors, more segments like this, which is just hypotheticals. Turn on your notifications, subscribe, because we're putting out content every day. Don't miss a video. Well, when you think about Jovic, he has progressed, right? His rookie year, he didn't play. Then in year 2, he started in the G League, ultimately got called up, played in 46 games, flashed a lot of nice things. Averaged 7 points a game, shot 40% from 3, and a lot of fans were happy, excited for his third year. Well, once again, he missed a couple months due to injury, that broken wrist that he suffered in the Bucks game just after the trade deadline. He did improve in terms of his points per game, but the rebound numbers stayed about the same, the assists stayed about the same, and the three-point percentage went down. And as you continue to talk about Nikola Jovic, his fit with Miami, like what is his fit? Ideally, when you thought you were getting Jovic, you were like, okay, he could be your 4. Bam will be your 5, and there is your long-term front court duo. Well, the Heat have tried that. It just simply hasn't worked out. Why? Well, Jovic is not strong enough. He is not athletic enough to defend at his size, and that's the biggest concern. He gets crushed inside by other big men, so he can't really play the 4. He doesn't have the foot speed to switch out on the perimeter and defend wings and guards and pick and rolls, and he's a target on the defensive end consistently. And then when you think about his offensive fit, what is it? Because so far he has been relegated to a off-ball three-point shooter and or a transition leader. And he's great when he gets the rebound and goes in transition. Gets the board, outlets. When he gets the outlet pass and goes, that's when he's at his best. But the Miami Heat simply don't do that enough as a team, and Jovic doesn't rebound enough to even start those transition opportunities for himself. He needs to have the ball in his hands to be successful, but Miami is relying on Tyler Hero so much to initiate the offense, where Jovic just kind of gets pushed to the side, and he's not being able to blossom to his full potential. So could you use him, his youth, his size, his upside, which is still there, to trade up in the draft and grab a potential guard that fits your team needs more? Like, the biggest need Miami has is finding a backcourt partner with Tyler Hero. We talk about the blueprints of success in the NBA now. When you look at the Thunder, the Timberwolves, the Pacers, and Knicks, with spacing there. They all have an all-NBA guard. whether it's SGA, Halliburton, Ant, or Jalen Brunson. They have athletic 3-and-D wings that complement them. Anunoby, Jalen Williams, Jaden McDaniels, and the whole 9 yards. And then a double big lineup. Well, we have a double big lineup with Kel'el Ware and Bam. Do we have the athletic 3-and-D wings? I do not think we do, but you need an all-NBA guard or a solid backcourt. Do the Heat have that? Probably not with Hero, but you never know. Maybe you find one in the lottery with that 11th pick or 12th pick, which, by the way, fun fact, that's where SGA was drafted. That's where Halliburton was drafted. And when you talk about who that could be for Miami, these are the two names that I would be all in on trading up and selecting in the late lottery if they were there. Egor Demin from BYU and Kasapras Jakucionis from Illinois. Both of them are projected to go anywhere from the 7th, 8th pick to the 14th pick. But one thing is certainly clear. They are not making it to your selection at number 20. They are lottery talents. I think Jakucionis and Demin both are top 10 talents, but due to other team needs, other team fits, they could ultimately slide to the back half and the near end of the lottery, which is where I think Miami could be very benefited by moving up and striking to grab one of these guys. So let's talk about these two as a prospect now. When you look at their size, that is something that is very appealing to me. And these, by the way, are without shoes. So with shoes, Demin, about 6'10", Jakucionis, just over 6'6". So you're getting lengthy guards, functional size at that guard position. But I would also stake the claim these two at age 19, one can grow a little bit more. They can add weight to their frame. They have plus wingspans, but they're also the two best playmakers in the entire draft. When you look at the ability to play make for others and just pure passing, the understanding of positioning of their defensive counterparts, they're two of the best. Demin is, I think, the best passer in the draft. And Jakucionis, I think, is up there with 2 or 3. You would have to put Fears up there. Traore is up there. The point is that they are true lead handlers that when they have the ball in their hand could create for themselves and for others. Now, both of them have legit defensive concerns. When you talk about those two, they are not fleet of foot, as you would say, and they are not vertical athletes to where you're like, holy crap, they're going to just come at you and put one on your head. That's not going to happen. But they project as elite distributors, and I believe both will develop into above-average three-point shooters. I trust Jakucionis more than Demin because Jakucionis was forced into a lot of sidestep, a lot of step-back three-point shots last year. When he gets stronger, develops a more consistent shot form, and is playing with NBA spacers in this new level, he will find much more open shots for him rather than some of the contested ones he took last year. Now, they are both below the rim athletes, which is a concern, but you get them as your lead point guard, move Hero to that more natural off-ball role to where he can just be in that Devin Booker type of role. I'm not talking he is that, but that's the way he can play. When was D-Book at his best? Think about this. In his whole career, when he had Chris Paul. And even though Hero elevated this year to his first All-Star season, if you get a true point guard, which he has never played with since Kyle Lowry, by the way, and Hero wasn't even close to the player back then that he is now, Hero might finally take that next scoring step now that he doesn't have to handle the ball and have that high usage rate that he did this past season. Very much in on acquiring one of these two. And let me know which point guard you would prefer. We didn't go complete in depth on these two, but just as an overview, which player would you rather have? Jakucionis, type KJ, type ED if you'd like Egor Demin. But even if you traded up in a crazy world where Demin and Jakucionis are off the board or you wanted to go in another direction, you would then be able in the lottery to guarantee that you will select from other prospects like these. Cedric Coward, who has risen up boards. He has been one of my favorite studies in this draft. Everybody knows my feelings on Rasheer Fleming and Nick Clifford. I don't think they will be available at 20. But if you're in the lottery, yes, both of them could be there, or at least one of them would be. Derek Queen is an option as well if you want to add a center to that rotation and just create a 3 big man lineup. He'll likely be there in the late lottery. And then Noah Senge, who has a lot of raw tools, sketchy, but if you develop them well, could be a really, really solid. The point is this. You trade up into the late lottery, it gives you the pick of the litter. You can go with one of those guards we mentioned. You can go with one of those elite role-playing athletic wings like a Senge, Clifford, Coward, Fleming, or you could take a center to be your third man in rotation with Ware and Bam, like Derek Queen or Thomas Sorber. You just have so many different options if you ultimately trade up. You could save money on the cap as well in some of those trade ideas we threw out there. I am very intrigued by potentially trading up. Now, I will say I would still prioritize trading for a veteran, for an all-star with that 20th pick if you can swing one. But if you strike out and you don't get the sense you're going to be able to acquire a Durant, a Ja Morant this offseason, then I would probably put this idea of trading up in the draft third on my list of trades I'd like to see the Heat pull off this upcoming offseason. And if anything ultimately happens with Miami, we will have you covered on Twitter first. I'll break it down, news, rumors, at Nic_Rohloff before we come up here and make a video about it. So make sure you go give me a follow today.